Countdown 10, January 18th, 1986. Dear Bridget, T-minus 10 days until Challenger launch. Today is Saturday. I don't know how long it's been since I got here, but you missed Christmas. I missed you on Christmas. It was not Christmas without you. I'm sorry I did not write before today. My hands and arms and shoulders were hurting and I was tired. Plus maybe I was angry. I am angry because you are gone. I am angry because Christmas was not Christmas without you. I am angry because only you can understand my letters, because everyone else calls them scribbles, because without you here to see the words I try to make, it's like I'm writing to nobody. I'm ready for you to come back. I have a new foster family. The mom is Francine West. She is tall and skinny with light skin and light hair. The dad is Billy West. He is shorter and rounder with dark skin and no hair. They have a daughter named Joni West, who lives here except when she's at college, plus 3 grown-up sons who live far away. Francine says I am the first ever foster child. I laughed today and she did not yell. Stop making that weird noise like the other foster mother. Francine laughed when I laughed, but I did not feel mean like when the kids laugh. Will you be mad, Bridget, if I laugh and you're not here? Will you be mad if I laugh with Francine? I know you always say foster families are not forever families and we should not get attached, but I think you might like Francine. She talks to me the way people talk to you, not too loud and not too slow, the way you talk to me. She talks like I am a person. This is a nice house, Bridget. There are 4 big bedrooms. One is for Billy and Francine, and one is for Joni, and one is for me. And they said the downstairs one is for guests. My bedroom has a door in the back of the closet that goes to the attic, which is my favorite part of the house, even though there's a lot of dust and it makes me sneeze. The attic is dark with sloped wooden ceilings and a round window at the far end. It is a perfect place to pretend to be in space. In the upstairs living room, they have cable. Have you seen cable? Cable is where there are extra TV channels, and one is called Nickelodeon Special for Kids. Nickelodeon has a show of The Little Prince, the same one from our book. Joni puts it on for me every single day and does not get mad when it makes me happy. I jump on the couch and squeak and flap. She just says, sit quietly, Nova, and then I try to sit quietly. The launch is in 10 days, Bridget. It was in the newspaper this morning. Billy read it out loud. T-minus 10 days until Challenger launches. I am glad it is in 10 days. I can count up to 10 and I can count down from 10. 10 is my best number. Every countdown starts with 10. This means that you have 10 days to find me so we can watch it together like you promised. Maybe if you decide it's okay to be a foster kid again, Francine and Billy will let you have the guest room. It does not lead to the attic or even the basement, but it has carpeting. Please come back. I miss you. Love, your Supernova. Chapter 2. Francine held Nova's hand as they walked up the stairs to Jefferson Middle School, a rectangular 2-story building with the bridge facade and windows that stretched from the ceiling to the floor on either side of the center double doors. Nova hugged NASA Bear with her free arm. Billy led the way, talking the entire time. You'll love it, Nova. All the kids went to Jefferson from 5th grade to 8th. They had that was back before they moved 5th graders into elementary school building to make way for more specials. Do you know about specials? Nova made her sound, which was the Wests were learning to recognize as a yes. Some of her old schools called classes specials if they were taught by teachers who were not in the classroom teachers. Other schools called them electives or extras or enrichment courses. Here they offer all the regulars, music, art, gym, but they also got home economics for girls and woodshop for boys, and once a week they have X Block. Nova cocked her head to the side. I know that what you're thinking, said Billy. What the heck is X Block? Nova smiled. That was what she was thinking, minus the heck. X Block is the most special of the specials. You can sign up for a fun class you want, and you get to pick the new one each quarter. They started that when our son John was in 6th grade. It was his idea. He wrote up a formal proposal and presented it to the teachers during the faculty meeting. They were so proud of him. Billy's voice cracked. Francine picked up where he left off. For taking the initiative, Johnny was a shy, sweet boy who always wanted to learn new things, but had trouble making friends. This helped him meet kids with similar interests. Now he's a recreation director, said Billy, planning activities for at-risk kids. He gave Nova's shoulder a squeeze. She pulled away. Francine continued the explanation. During X Block, kids can decide whether they want to do band, chorus, soccer, softball, archery, book club, dance. They talked to Miss Pierce, and she's going to be your specials education teacher. And she said kids who are more like you, they usually stay in the special ed room during X Block. But we thought you'd prefer something fun, Billy finished. They have a planetarium here and offer astronomy for this semester. So we requested that for you. Do you know about astronomy? Have you ever been inside a planetarium? Nova tapped her right middle finger and her forefinger rapidly against her chin. She hadn't been in a planetarium before, but of course she knew all about astronomy. The study of stars, planets, moons, comets, galaxies. Bridget had taught her lots about astronomy. She answered finally, even though the answer was technically half yes and half no. Francine and Billy smiled. They had reached the double doors. Billy knocked on the glass. From inside the building, a heavy-set man wearing a blazer with jeans was making his way toward them. He opened the door. If it isn't Mr. and Mrs. West, the man shook Billy's hand and kissed Francine on the cheek. Nova promptly stuck out her hand like Billy, ready to shake, because there was no way she wanted that man's beard and lips anywhere near her face. How polite, exclaimed the man, taking Nova's hand. You must be Nova. Said Nova. She was certainly using the word an awful lot today. My name is Principal Dowling. Like so many of my former teachers and foster parents, Principal Dowling emphasized each word as if Nova couldn't hear well. Nice to meet you. Ready for your grand tour? He put his face close to hers so she had a look at him. She did not make her sound this or look in his eyes, but she did notice his front teeth, which were crooked like her own, before shifting her gaze to his yellow and blue tiled floor. We're ready, said Francine. Lead the way. The school was as flat and rectangular as the inside as it was on the outside. From the main entrance hallway stretched to the left and to the right, and the wide staircase stood before them. We had a long talk with the powers that be and determined it would be best for you to go back to 6th grade, exclaimed Billy. Nova narrowed her eyes. She was already halfway through 7th grade. Why go back? Why go backward? You only went backward when you were counting down to liftoff. Did that mean that she would repeat 5th grade next year and 4th grade the year after? She pictured herself 17 like Bridget, squished into a kindergarten desk, and frowned. You will love 6th grade, Principal Dowling was smiling with too many crooked teeth. Nova covered her ears and hummed, but she could still hear him talking to her foster parents. As you know, upstairs we have 7th grade, 8th grade, and the planetarium. But unfortunately, Mr. Mindy keeps it locked up when he's not here, so she'll have to wait to see it on Wednesday. That's when the 6th grade has X Block. He turned to Billy. Did you tell her about X Block? We sure did, said Billy, smiling. He nudged her playfully. Right, Nova? She said. It seemed like an okay school. The walls were lined with recently repainted lockers. Nova knew that they were recently repainted because she touched one of them and got paint on her finger, which she licked off. It did not taste as orange as it looked. Above the locker on the teachers' doors were posters and projects of students who designed their own book covers. Nova recognized one title right away, Bridge to Terabithia. Bridget had read her the first 2 chapters, but ended up finishing it on her own one night while Nova was asleep. She'd apologized in the morning, explaining that she just had to know the ending. Nova didn't mind. Bridget had promised they'd start A Wrinkle in Time next, and Nova already loved it for its dusky blue cover with green and black circles. Sad book, Francine tapped the Bridget Terabithia poster. I don't think kids should read books about other kids dying. Kids dying? Nova shuddered. Kids should not be dying. Bridget had taught her that the last spring when she'd done her project on starvation in Ethiopia. This shouldn't happen. Bridget slammed her research book shut. Not to kids. Kids don't deserve to die. Leave the dying for the people who start the wars that create the famines, not the kids who can't do a damn thing about it. Nova didn't understand words like starvation or famine, and didn't have the first idea where Ethiopia was, far from their home in New Hampshire, she guessed. But she understood that it was bad because Bridget swore. And Bridget almost never swore, not in front of Nova. Do you see? Asked Billy, jostling Nova out of the memory. He was pointing to another poster which featured a girl jumping over the brook. That's what your classmates are learning. Nova couldn't understand all of the words on their projects, but she could tell that those kids weren't reading picture books, which they were the only ones teachers ever gave her. They usually weren't even good picture books. Each boring book had 2 or 3 boring words on each boring page under a boring pictures. See cat run, run cat run. Nova hated those books. Only Bridget read to her from chapter books and novels, ones that looked like Bridge to Terabithia. The Little Prince had been their favorite since forever. But they also shared Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Harriet the Spy, and all 7 books from Spunky Ramona Quimby and her big sister Beezus. Nova was still staring at the Bridges of Terabithia poster when she began to wiggle. The wiggle grew into a dance. She squeezed her legs together, bouncing on her toes. I'll take her to the bathroom, Francine hurried Nova down the hall. Nova was relieved. She often didn't realize that she had to go until it was almost too late. And even when she did recognize the signs, she didn't know how to tell anyone. At home, she could run into the bathroom and screech if she couldn't get her overalls off fast enough by herself until Francine or Joni came in to help. Once Nova closed herself into the stall and was able to look around. The bathroom walls and ceiling were white, but the stall doors were the same orange as the lockers. Some girls had used permanent marker to write their names in block letters, visible even through the new paint job. Nova reached out to trace the bubble B with her fingertip. B for Bridget. After she flushed, Nova pulled up her overalls and stepped out of the stall so Francine could fasten them. Francine also reminded Nova to wash her hands with soap, which was silly because Nova always washed her hands with soap, then led her back out to the hall. We're going to show you the special education room now, Nova. Mrs. Pierce is looking forward to meeting you. Principal Dowling glanced at Billy. He wasn't speaking in the strange, forceful way anymore, which made Nova happy. Right this way, my dear, said Billy in a silly English accent. He took Nova's hand and twirled her under his arm. She let out a squeak of laughter. Principal Dowling unlocked the door to the large, brightly decorated classroom at the end of the hall. Mrs. Pierce just returned to us in September. I don't know if she mentioned it in the meeting last week, but she spent 2 years in sabbatical in California, studying the latest techniques for children with autism. We're excited for her to implement what she's learned. Nova glanced around. Across the room was a massive poster of the solar system that made her breath hitch in her throat. Glossy and bright, featured all the 9 planets and the Earth's moon. It was beautiful, too beautiful. Her body began to bounce. Even NASA Bear was excited. Billy and Francine encouraged her to look around to see what else was in the classroom and it had to offer. It wasn't easy, but she tore her eyes from the solar system. Along one wall was bookshelves, and taped up all over the other walls were laminated cards featuring shapes and colors, so many shapes and colors. By the bookshelves were posters from the nursery rhymes and the small play area with the beanbag chair, plus regular chairs on a bright blue rug arranged in a semicircle. Near the laminated cards were desks and tables, each with name tags for the students who sat there. Nova closed her eyes and covered her ears as Billy and Francine led her around and promoted by the principal. Exploring this new classroom reminded Nova of her very first day in her very first school. She was 5 years old and small and scared. She and Bridget had just moved in with their very first foster family, who said it was high time Nova started school. Nova did not want it to be high time. She hated not knowing what to expect. She hated the new and unfamiliar places, and she hated being away from Mama. But Bridget was there. Bridget rode the bus with her. Bridget walked her to her classroom. Bridget held her by the hand the whole way. I am right down the hall if you need me, Bridget promised. Room 212. Can you remember that, 212? Said Nova. Don't say Nova. Say yes. You can do it. Yes. Yeah. Bridget smiled and kissed Nova's forehead. Good job. You are so smart. Don't let them tell you you're not smart. I know you're smart, and I know you know you're smart. But if you only say they're gonna think that you're not smart. Say yes and no, and you can say no right. Yeah. Say it now. No, your turn. No. Great job, Bridget hugged her again. Kindergarten will be great. It's all coloring and singing and nap time and stories and playing with blocks. You're good at all those things, right? Not yes. Listen, I'm right down the hall from the room 212. If anyone is mean to you, you come and get me and we'll leave, okay? We'll walk right out of this school and never come back, okay? Okay, okay, KK. Okay, good. I'm proud of you. Have fun, Supernova. But Nova did not have fun. The teacher started by asking, what's your name? Nova did not answer. Don't you know your name? Teacher asked. Nova did not answer. Are you shy? Teacher asked. Nova did not answer. Hello, teacher sang, waving her hand in front of Nova's face. Nova jerked away. The teacher was too close. Nova did not like anyone too close except Bridget, or sometimes Mama. She screeched and swatted toward the teacher. Excuse me, young lady. Teacher's voice was getting too loud. You need to answer. Nova backed up and flapped her hands in the air, making her squeaking noise. When teacher reached toward her, she closed her eyes and covered her ears, trying to block out the world. The kindergarten classroom was very noisy. Pencil sharpeners sharpening, marbles spilling out from the metal can onto the floor, crayons rolling from the cupboard box onto the table, birds chirping outside, kids chirping inside. It was too much. Nova dropped to her knees and rocked back and forth, squeaking, eyes still closed. Get up, said teacher, tugging at her arm. Bidge, Nova screamed for her big sister to save her. Bidge, Bidge, Bidge. What are you saying? Teacher yanked Nova roughly to her feet. We don't allow curse words in this classroom, young lady. Last chance, tell me your name or it's straight to the principal's office with you. She was holding Nova's hand too hard. Nova could feel the skin against her skin and hated skin on skin. Where were they going? She hated not knowing. Even more than she hated skin on skin. Frightened, she hit teacher over and over, wanted her to let go, but teacher did not. Students, sit on the rug, said teacher. I will be right back. She dragged Nova down the hall, still screaming and hitting. Bidge, Bidge! Nova could not remember which room her sister was in. She started to cry. She could not move her feet. It was all if she'd forgotten how to walk. Her cloth sneakers were dragging on the carpet. Nova did not know where she was going. Nova did not understand why she was in trouble. Nova wanted Bridget to save her, to bring her home, not to the foster home, but to Mama's home, the real home, that was where their rocket ship was. Walk, teacher yelled. Help, Nova tried to say, but only noises came out, noises that didn't sound anything like help. She cried harder. She had so hard she began to cough. She couldn't see her through her tears. Suddenly, Bridget came tearing out of the classroom. Bridget yanked her sister roughly away from the teacher and wrapped her arms in a tight hug. "What are you doing?" Bridget shouted. "Don't touch her." "Bidge," cried Nova. But it was even hard. It was even harder for her to speak. Now than before, because she couldn't stop coughing and crying, she hoped Bridget would tell the teacher what she'd been trying to say. "I'm taking her to the office," said the teacher, her round face purpling. "She was cursing and hitting me. She wouldn't tell me her name. My sister doesn't know how to curse," Bridget said. She used the sleeve to wipe Nova's runny nose, and she was only hitting you because you scared her. Then Bridget said a bad word. "You're both going to the office." Teacher pulled Nova by the right arm and Bridget by the left. Nova dragged her feet the whole way. Bridget unleashed every curse word she knew at the top volume. That was how Nova knew that she was mad. She was. "Deal with this," ordered teacher when they reached the principal's office. Principal was not happy. He called their foster family. Their foster family was not happy. Bridget and Nova did not live with them for very long. Nova, everything all right?" asked Francine, tapping Nova's shoulder lightly. Nova jumped. She had forgotten that she was at Jefferson Middle School special education room. She looked at Francine, then at the window by the desk where they were going, what was going to be hers. Francine tried to hug her, but Nova pulled away. She did not enjoy hugging. Francine made a sad sound like a sigh, and Nova wasn't sure why, but it made her feel bad. So she handed Francine NASA Bear. "Nah, Bear, Baba," she said. She meant NASA Bear makes everything better. "I don't understand," said Francine, looking pained. "But I love that you're talking. Can you tell me again?" Said Nova. She meant no. Outside, a fat gray squirrel whipped its way up a leafless tree. Nova gasped. What was the squirrel doing in this cold weather? She crawled onto the top of her desk to see him better. He seemed to sense her. He stopped on a low, bare branch and stared back at her, tail twitching. "Gah!" said Nova, slapping her palm against the window. She wanted to ask why he was out in such cold, but the words couldn't come out. "Gah!" "Get down, please, Nova," coaxed Billy. When she didn't respond, he put his arm around her waist and removed her from the table, which she did not like. She pulled away. "We don't sit on tables," Francine admonished, friendly but firm. "You know that." Nova glanced back at the window. The squirrel was gone. Now she felt sad. She needed NASA Bear. She looked down at her arms, then at the desk. Where was he? She looked at Francine and Billy. Oh, there. Francine was still holding him. With a screech, Nova grabbed one of his legs and yanked him roughly away, hugging him to her chest. "Are you okay?" asked Francine. She answered, but it was not a yes or a no sound. She meant mine. "Nova," asked Billy. We reached for her. She backed away, certain to have hit her for screaming, but she would not let him. Instead, she hit herself 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the side of the head with her free palm. Gently, Francine took her hitting hand and lowered it. She guided Nova's chin with her thumb. Nova let herself make eye contact with Francine for a second. She did not see anger there, but the feeling of looking right at Francine was intense anyway. Nova wanted to say she was sorry, even though she wasn't sure why she should be. "I'm simply saying like the sort of thing kids said when adults started staring at them." "It's okay, Nova," said Francine softly. "Everyone's okay. Everything's okay." Nova's feeling calmer, glanced around the classroom. She gazed, settled on the list of rules posted by the teacher's desk. Quiet voice, calm body, nice words, happy feet. Listening ears, respect property, help others, be kind. "Is she reading the sign?" asked Principal Dowling. He sounded surprised. "Just looking," said Francine pleasantly, but Francine was wrong. She was reading the sign. She'd read the whole list, every single rule. For the second For a second, Nova felt excited, so excited that she had to happy flap her hands and squeak. She just read the sign all by herself, every single word, even property, and that was a tough one. We were told that Nova couldn't read anything yet, Francine went on. She doesn't know the alphabet, but we'll work on it. The alphabet? Nova stopped happy flapping. The alphabet was the name of the ABCs. Nova knew the ABCs. Bridget taught her the ABCs when she was 6. She felt her face going hot. Does not speak, cannot read, severely mentally retarded. Her eyes filled with tears. She needed Bridget. Bridget would tell them, my sister's not dumb. She's a thinker, not a talker. The tears burned as they fell. Nova was ready to be all done with this tour. She bit between her thumb and her forefinger to keep from crying too hard, but Billy took her hand away from her mouth and held it. Is she okay? Asked Principal Dowling. I think Nova is a little overwhelmed, answered Francine as they fished a tissue from her purse. Her social worker told us that this happens sometimes. She's an anxious girl, especially in new and unfamiliar situations. We've mostly been keeping her home since they placed her with us to get used to things, which is precisely where we appreciate you letting us come today. Billy reached out to shake the principal's hand again. We want her first day to go smoothly as possible. Of course, Principal Dowling smiled, but at the same time shot Nova a nervous look he hadn't worn before. Francine held the tissue up to Nova's nose and asked her to blow. Francine will be dropping her off and picking her up each day, said Billy as the principal led the way back to the main double doors. I could drop her off and still get here and still get to the classroom in plenty of time. Francine tucked a stray lock of hair between Nova's ears. The elementary school is right down the road. Ah, yes, said Principal Dowling. How is kindergarten? Got a good group this year. Francine nodded. I love them. They always start off so helpless, babies practically, unable to read or write or tie their shoes or color inside the lines. But by the time summer vacation rolls around, Nova wasn't listening anymore. She wasn't crying anymore either. She was humming soft and holding NASA Bear with one hand, tapping on her chin with the other, thinking again about the very first time she'd walked down the halls like these, back when she was in kindergarten baby. School would start tomorrow. She was not ready.